lounging, son.
All right, welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan.
And I'm Manny.
And today we're going to be going through TMNT Last Ronin 2 Re-Evolution #1. It's a fucking mouthful. The sequel, fucking best-selling original Last Ronin. But this is going to have 4 new turtles. So if you've read, Last Ronin, definitely pick up Lost Years, I would recommend, which is at the time they were selling it as the prequel sequel. It's more prequel than sequel, and it kind of like introduced us more to these new turtles. So I definitely recommend picking up Lost Years if you haven't read it. Before we get into it, though, I just want to remind everybody, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and check out some of the dope content on the channel. We go through single issues, hardcovers, artist editions, there's interviews, all sorts of good stuff. So hit that subscribe button. And now let's dive into this. So before I flip the page, this is not the A cover, obviously. This is the Comics Pro version. We've done a video on Last Ronin. Go check that out. So this has been before we talk, we had mentioned like we didn't think they should do a sequel, remember? Like
yes,
we're like, would that be kind of overkill? And then they did Lost Years, and we talked about that. And then, I think if you're gonna do a sequel to that book, I guess this is the best way because they're not killing the actual Last Ronin concept. Like they're introducing new characters. They're just kind of building out that world, which is by Tom Waltz, Kevin Eastman, the Escorza brothers, Ben Bishop.
So you have the same creative team, and then you like you said, like the Last Ronin is just like the title of like this sort of new world we live in. This is, we'll get into it when we talk about the book, but this is much more about the new turtles, like the new sort of world that they find themselves in, like post all the events of Last Ronin, and also you got the daughter of Casey Jones and April O'Neil, the Casey Jr. As one of the big main characters too. So like you said,
it's too, because like
yes,
when we left off in Last Ronin, right? She had been training with Mikey, and then through Lost Years, she now was training these new turtles, which I think is, it's kind of cool because it's like the turtles were trained by Splinter originally, right? And what I love in here is, we're going to see is like they actually like solidify which origin, like which version of turtles are we working with here? You know what I mean? Because like the IDW version, obviously it's reincarnation. It's not the same as the Mirage Turtles. To me, this is an amalgamation, but we'll get to that. I love Casey Jr.'s. I love her outfit. I like her half mask.
Yes,
where it shows her eyes.
Yeah, I like that there's a very much like a superhero vigilante feel to her. It's like she's taken her father's costume, and where his was like very like very put together, like what someone that had no budget or like really nothing to really work with would put it together. Mm-hmm. She's almost taking it to the next level where there's like a Batman sort of like Red Hood kind of quality to it.
It's got like a cape a little bit too, yeah. So yeah, she's like the leader of this, like, I don't want to say
a resistance.
A resistance team. And you can see like this is, I don't want to maybe necessarily call it post-apocalyptic because it's not, but it's there's a little bit of cyberpunk mixed into this that feels like influence. Obviously the original Last Ronin is heavily influenced by Dark Knight Returns, right? Like that's all over this book. It's continuing to be all throughout here. But I love that we've seen, because this is such a big time jump, I would say, I mean, over 10 years, right, of a time jump.
I would say that the new turtles are teenagers themselves. So like,
15.
Casey's grown up, and as we learned in Last Ronin, she was affected by the mutagen, because of the fact that her parents were around it so much. When she was born, she's faster, stronger than the average person, and you can tell she's also kind of bigger. I mean, like she looks like a WWE woman here, like she's big.
She definitely, the way they're illustrating, they're really selling you on that, of how she's towering over, because as she grabs this dude by this, by his neck, and then you can see that how she, from behind, she can like sense stuff. So definitely like is selling you on she's not your typical human vigilante at all.
And she's pretty ruthless, man. I mean, she's kicking ass all over the place in this book, and she's also obviously like a very like stern sensei to these turtles. You know, like you could
Hmm.
tell by the way that they talk about the training, and not that she doesn't care about them, because she obviously does, but she's also, I think, because of what her parents went through and everything that she witnessed in the last Ronin, she's been very hardened. So she seems like a much more harder person than her parents probably ever really had to be, at least until the very end.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at that. No one trusts the police, right?
Yeah,
And this is a fucked up world that they're all living in. And like she's
yeah,
like, it's up to them to hold the line, do the right thing for our people, and they're not winning, right? Like that's important to know that she's been fighting this war for years at this point.
yeah,
Years, and still, the resistance that took place with, Mikey as a part of it when they took down the descendant of Shredder.
yeah. His
Now,
granddaughter, I think it was.
no, it's his grandson.
Grandson, that's right. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Karai, it was Karai's son.
Yeah,
So,
Karai's son, that's right. Yeah,
yeah. And now, like, to think that they're still just fighting, and you can see, like, in these close-ups, dude, like, she looks like she's been through some shit, dude, over the
yeah,
past
yeah,
15 years.
yeah. She's pissed and angry, and like she's very much like like she's very. It seems like she runs the resistance very much like a military person would.
No, I dig it, dude. Like, the fact that she's gained this respect from everybody, right? When, like, you look at her and how far she's come from that original series and stuff, like,
Yeah.
I love how she grabs this dude up and she's like she's squeezing him so hard. I think that's why the blood's coming out. I mean, that's kind of what I'm taking from it. But like, look at that. She's like, get him out of my face before I take his off. So she is a ruthless,
Does she?
ruthless
There's
person.
a crack there. Like I'm wondering, she doesn't kill him, right?
No, because she says, get
No. Yeah.
before she takes it
Yeah.
off.
I think she
But
just kind of like.
maybe
But I
breaks his
think you're right. I
jaw.
think she is kind of squeezing, and
Yeah.
like it's sort of like if it was a film, you'd hear like the bones almost like the pressure of what she's putting on him. Like she could snap his neck right there if she wanted to, very easy.
But look at that. Even then, even as ruthless as she can seem, like she even says it here, because like some of the other resistance soldiers are like, there needs to be a more permanent beatdown, not more interrogation.
Yeah.
She says, we're trying it my way. I'm heading home. Like so she kind of like in her puts them in their place. But like I love that they respect her leadership enough to not like try to like go against her. And then we
And I love
get
that she refers to them as my kids too, the turtles.
yes, I dig that too. And this is where we see spoiler, because this hasn't been like talked about or anything. It wasn't alluded to in Lost Years, but they have powers, right? Like they can talk to each other psychically, which is pretty crazy.
I like that one of them is reading what obviously looks like a Daredevil comic, and I like the way he describes the way that the because we're reading their thoughts being back and forth. But he's like, I like the way. Can you go back? Please go back to the mind talking. The pictures are cooler inside my head that way. So dramatic, like in a comic book. It's like what a cool way to sort of make you visualize how a psychic communication would be. Like it's not just a voice in their head, but like images too.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's very interesting and unique way to talk about like their psychic abilities. I really dig that they all look different, right?
Yes, me too.
But I can also imagine that doing these markings on their skin and keeping those consistent must be fucking such a pain in the ass, you know?
But I mean, great work by the artist to
Yeah.
take on that challenge, and make
Yeah.
it, like consistent throughout.
And the
I
Escorza
love
brothers,
their
it's great.
relationship too.
Yeah, the Escorza brothers like coming in like basically I think Last Ronin was I had never heard of them before. And look at what they're part of the
Yeah.
best-selling graphic novel for like over a year. It's been a bestseller or number one. It's cool to see how their art has kind of evolved a little bit, and like they're becoming more comfortable in this world. And now they kind of get to put their own stamp on a whole different generation of turtles with these new characters.
I love this center spread too of them chilling.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I love the way that their layer looks. The little details like the messy pots and pans. Like it's great storytelling because like it's also showing you that like they're still teenagers and they're sloppy, and like you see the half-eaten pizza box, like how like you got to have that in there. They're at the bottom. Like
Yeah.
they're still very much like, as much as they're individual and different from our beloved original turtles, like they still have the DNA of them in them,
Yeah.
So like it's I don't know, it's cool, man.
And sometimes I keep for like I always like get them mixed up, but like this his name is Uno. You got Odin, you got Moja and Yi. I believe Moja and Yi are both female turtles, and it's Uno
Yes,
and Odin that are the male. But I like, the mix, it's like they're not all brothers, they're siblings, right?
yes,
And dude, I love how towering Odin is.
yes,
And I also, another thing that's cool is like they've mastered all weapons.
yes.
Like that's something where like neither one of them has chosen a specific weapon for themselves yet. And I'm wondering if that'll change throughout. But this is what I really loved about this issue too, is Ben Bishop doing these flashbacks, and you get, the history as they're describing it to themselves, telling themselves the story of Hamato Yoshi and Oroku Saki, all that stuff. This is where it finally, to me, like I was saying, it solidifies like which version of the turtles,
Yes.
but it mixes it in the sense that like you're gonna see like the different colored bandanas never existed in the Mirage version. They always
Yeah.
stayed red. So that's like the only difference. But these pages here, dude, and the way they like mimic the duotone,
Are
so sick.
beautiful.
Yes. I
Yeah,
really
and
dug
I
this.
love everything about it. I mean, the art reminds me. There's a slight like the name of the artist escapes me, but the guy that
Ben
did like
Bishop.
Lone Wolf and Cub. No,
Oh, oh,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You're
You see,
right.
like it's just very beautiful. Especially like if you go back at one more page, like I love I love this spread so much.
Hmm.
Like I love the looseness, like the sort of hatching that it has,
Yeah.
the layout. So much information that we already, if you're a Turtles fan, you really know this, but it's done so beautifully that you don't mind reading it again. And it's also perfect for people that might have just been casual Turtle fans, read the Last Ronin, and want to continue this world. I mean,
Yeah.
they're really doing a good job of continuing it, like you said, without making us feel like this is some kind of cash grab.
I mean, it's kind
I,
of
I
smart.
take back what I said in the original video. I'm glad that they're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting too because like they didn't do any of this in the first series. Like
No, you're right.
you had to have a passing knowledge of the turtles, right? And that's it. But here they're like again, like I said, they're solidifying kind of the backstory. So this is the version where, Hamato Yoshi had a pet rat and he watched it, and that's how he learned martial arts. And the turtles are not reincarnated, which I'm kind of torn on which version I like better. I kind of dig the OG stuff.
Me
And I
too.
love this particular like double panel right here where you have their hands each holding their weapons by Shredder's
Yes,
head.
which that's a beautiful. That's a beautiful image. I mean,
Yeah.
you nailed it. Like the duotone that they mimic here is great. We don't see enough of that in comics, man. And like I recently picked up a stack of OG Turtle comics, so I've been reading through them, and I'm like, bro, you know what I mean? Like amazing art, and this really is very close to that. I mean, it still has its own vibe,
Yeah, I
but
dig
I
the
but you
red that they added in here, but this is this line that they do, I loved. The story goes that it was Leonardo who said it. Seems that the shredder has been shredded. Like that was the line from the issue one. So I love that they added it in here. I thought that
yeah,
was
you're
cool
right.
because it was like they met Shredder and he was gone after issue
Yeah,
one. And he came back obviously in different ways, but um and then we get back into the history of like now we moved from the origin stuff and we're into the next level of this. And this is where I said like this is where it diverges because like they have the different colored bandanas. So it almost feels like they took a little bit from IDW, but not a lot. I don't know. I would like to see this more fleshed out, maybe get some more flashbacks in the next few issues to kind of see where the timelines
or
diverge, or if this is just like it's completely its own thing, which I think it is completely its own timeline. Like it's not beholden to anything specific, but this
right.
is fantastic, dude, because now we're getting like the history of how like
Yeah,
each one died, right? We see Raph died, Leo died, Casey died, Donatello, Splinter, and then it's just Michelangelo, the sole survivor. And this right here, this headlock he's got fucking Shredder's grandson in. It's fucking
yeah.
awesome, dude.
And then the no piece, like it's very effective, and it packs an emotional wallop.
This is great. This
I,
the way they did this double page where it's like multiple panels up here and then it just like this one isn't even like with panel breaks. It just kind of
yeah,
flows. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and like they get the panels get slightly wider too as the page goes down. So like it has a real effective way of like of making your eye move down at like a very specific pacing.
And I feel like they haven't really mentioned it, but like, why? Like, how do these turtles come about? Like, what was the decision to like make more mutant turtles? I don't think that's ever been discussed, right?
I don't think so
Yeah.
either. Maybe that's something they'll get into, you know?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. But I loved in Lost Years when they were little kids and stuff and their different personalities and like now that they've grown and they're ninja and they just want to like go out into the world and like use their abilities. But
Yeah.
April keeps them kind of tied down. I think that's
I
pretty
love that
funny.
April is Dr. Jones now too, you know?
Yeah. No, it's dope. And they got this whole underground fucking facility. It's like they still keep that aspect of the turtles living underground, but this is way
Yeah.
more high tech. It's not like they're,
Yeah.
doing makeshift beds out of fucking cardboard boxes or whatever they can scrounge up. Yeah, it's cool to see April in this role.
Yeah. She's almost like the Princess Leia, like when, after Princess Leia later in her life where she's sort of
Oh yeah,
taken
that's a
on like
that,
this
that's a good comp.
strong lead.
Yeah, so there's a whole ton of exposition here.
Yeah, it's setting up what the conflict is and what the issues the resistance have been having. I love
This
that
is
top panel up there
Yeah, this
with the
is
symbol.
this yeah. This to me like dragged for a second for me when I was like reading it. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Oh, okay. I need to get back to the turtle. Like I really wanted to see the turtles because
Yeah.
we haven't really got to see them much. But the coloring on here, how it does have that kind of like really bright aesthetic of the
Yes.
skyline, and it makes the city not look quite as like, grungy like that you would see like in an 80s Daredevil book or something, or
Right.
in a Gotham City. But like you said, I do love the silhouettes of them jumping across the roof.
Yeah. That's classic turtle stuff. We've
Yeah.
seen images like that in almost every iteration of the turtles, the comics, the cartoons, the movies.
Hmm.
And I love that they're doing that too. They're really paying attention to the property here. And like I said, I take back what I said. I really love that they're doing this now. I'm on board.
Yeah, same here. I love scenes like this, just jumping across roofs. They're all talking inside each other's heads, not talking
Yeah,
out loud. So that is how they're being quiet, quick and quiet.
yeah. I'm excited to see where that aspect of it goes because like that's gonna give them an advantage that the original turtles never had. This ability to communicate with each other without talking, like, is gonna make them such an effective fighting unit. And like you said earlier, that they also each mastered all the weapons. Like they
Mhm.
don't have to stick to one particular like strategy or fighting style or weapon. Like I can only imagine they can switch off almost like at the drop of a hat,
What's
and it's
cool
gonna
too,
make them a different unit.
yeah, and what's cool too is you can see Uno has this like stealth mode that he can go in
Yes,
where his skin color and his like marking invert, which is pretty dope.
like a
Um,
chameleon almost.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. So like, and I wonder too, like, I mean, obviously there's different species of turtles, but they all look so
Yes.
different. And like their carapace, like the way like Uno's kind of like spikes upwards, their shells all have like a different look to them.
Like I wonder if one of them is maybe like a snapping turtle. Like we like you said, there turtle is an overall like broad term for
Yeah.
these kind of animals. There's different types of turtles, like there's different type of dogs and cats.
Yeah. I love when they get caught as they come back in. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like a typical like getting caught by your parents after sneaking out. Like
yeah,
I personally never got caught when I would sneak out, but I think it's funny because like the way she says it. Oh, look, we got some nasty cockroaches sneaking around the place, and the look on Yi, she's staring, and then April just chilling with her fucking. I'm assuming it's tea or coffee or
yeah.
whatever. I just think it's so funny, and then they don't even really get punished.
No, I like the dynamic that April and Casey have. Like it's very good cop, bad cop. April is very much like the grandmother. Grandmas are always allowed to be slightly more spoiling to their grandkids.
Dude, this is funny too. When Yee's like, "Oh, Moja said the next time we snuck out, we were supposed to get 6 months of rescission," and she's like, "Yee, what the hell?" Like,
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
head. I thought that was pretty funny because like they don't like nobody else can hear it but them, obviously. And then we're seeing what's going on with the city again. Ton of exposition of the mayor coming and talking to everybody.
and this reporter Amanda Rose Conor, which I feel like might become a reoccurring character by the way she's introduced. And it's not a Turtles comic if you don't have a reporter that's gonna be on their side. Like that's April's. How April started. So I'm
I
interesting. If she's gonna play a similar role going forward in real
That's a good
life.
call, and I didn't even think about it that way. But it's
Yeah,
funny too, because like they're trying to downplay like the gang wars that are happening. Oh, it's just rumors, you news hacks are I don't know what you news hacks are operating from these days. I think it's funny. It's unfounded gossip, but like this shit's going down, and it's typical of like, a politician, especially to be like downplaying something, right? Like they don't want an outbreak of like, mass hysteria, but really there's a lot of shit going down.
yeah, and it seems like the corruption has gone really deep
It's
into
deep
the
seated,
city, and
yeah.
yeah, it's you got the police are corrupted, you got like city hall corrupted, and they're not just fighting a Foot Clan kind of organization. I mean that we might very well see a reemergence of the Foot. I would suspect that we're going to have to see that at some point, or they're going to have to address that at some point.
Yeah.
But the corruption here is, like you said, very deep seated, and they have a very very uphill battle to fight.
Yeah. And I think at this point, like, I feel like Casey was dating a cop from what I remember
Yeah,
from last year's. And they kind of like mention him here, like, and then Casey, she's gonna go take care of business, right? And because she gets a call from Commander Zargoza, which is one of the guys that we saw her with earlier in the series. I love this. She's going to action and she's gonna take the turtles. But April like doesn't want her to do it. She thinks it's too soon, and she's like, "No, we're going."
yeah,
And they're just super stoked because they can finally like put into practice what they've been training for years to do.
yeah,
And like I said, we've been training our whole lives. We'll be totally safe. And April's just fucking pissed. And this is the part of the book that I just really dug when they finally are unleashed. I mean, obviously
yeah.
we've already seen them kind of jumping on rooftops, but now they bust out their weapons. You just see all their armaments, like the different things. They got their nunchucks, sword. Everybody has multiple weapons.
Yeah, look, they even have a hockey stick back there.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that on Odin. Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, yeah. Like they're not only mastered like the OG Turtles weapons, but even like Casey's. Like
Yeah, this is great action scenes. I love how this dude
yes,
like runs straight into Odin. He's like a brick wall. And then this right here, dude, with Uno and
yeah. Odin's built like a
Moja.
football player. Like I
Yeah.
I also do like that they all have different, like you said earlier, physicalities. Ones are slimmer, one is bigger. Like they really did that, and it's very original. This big page is, oh, what a beautiful spread.
Yeah, so good.
I love the layout. Each of them, like, a different part of the page. It is very clean.
I like how she's like, I don't remember training you to jabber. Just finish your business like I taught you. Because they
Like I
do
said,
have
she's a
like,
hard ass. She's a
yeah,
hard
dude.
ass, man.
Dude, this is just so sick. This part though is
Yeah.
crazy where like Odin just turns into stone out of nowhere. And then that's how we end. So I'm assuming this has something to do with his powers, right? Like we're
Yeah.
gonna see like because it just says he's frozen solid, but um crazy way to end this. I dig that. I dig it. I love this book so far. I'm excited to see what comes next. We got the cover for issue 2.
Yeah.
As I said, last year's got some other stuff too. Bunch of dope variant covers that came out for this. But this is phenomenal, dude. I'm
Yeah,
on
man.
board. I wouldn't be surprised if like eventually like maybe I don't know if it would support it, but like an ongoing with these characters. That'd be cool.
I think so too. And it can run parallel.
Yeah.
It's such a great time to be a Turtles fan. We got the you got Jason Aaron's run about to start in like
Mhm.
another couple months. You have all these other titles that have been coming out. You had the Mutant Mayhem movie. Like the Turtles have always been there. Like they've never gone away, which is fantastic. But
Mhm.
there is definitely a renaissance now, and I
Yes.
think that we haven't really had this many quality Turtle books on the stand in a while, man.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree. I definitely think it's a great time to be a Turtles fan
yeah,
and check out some of the other dope Turtles comics that are coming out. There's a bunch of announcements happened for the 40th anniversary. Go pick up Last Ronin 2. And while you're at it, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid drops. And on that note, we're out.